All right, everyone. Eric Polzin here with 95 Sports. Going to be getting into another PGA DFS live stream for you guys. Got the ZOZO Championship here. Just going to bump this camera a little bit there. Good enough. So yeah, what we're going to be getting into for this one is kind of the same thing we always do. We're going to get into the fades and the outright bets, and now a little bit of the ownership as well. A little bit of the ownership, but this week I don't know what it is, but for the ZOZO Championship, we do not exactly have like actual projected ownership, so I kind of did my own. So we'll be going over that as well. But let's just start off with the fades. I'm going to be going into the 95 player profile to show you guys the players I'll be fading for this week and kind of the reasons as to why. Just a reminder, if you guys have any questions, make sure to get those in the chat as well. I'll be checking that kind of periodically throughout the live stream. Whether that's on Twitter or on YouTube, I'll be checking that as well. I know the last live stream, I didn't exactly look at Twitter, so I apologize for that for the users that were on Twitter. But yeah, let's start off with the first fade here. And I'm not going to... The problem with this week is that there's like 3 obvious plays on the high-tier price point range. And then there's 2 obvious plays kind of in the mid-tier price point range. And then I would say there's like 4 decent values. So for me, it was like... especially with Paul Casey ruled out, for me, it was like I'm kind of fading everyone else pretty much. Like, there's no one, I guess, that I would directly say, no, don't play them. But there's a lot of players this week in which I wouldn't be going on my way to play them, if that makes sense. And so kind of the first one that I'm looking at this week for fading purposes is going to be Tommy Fleetwood. Now, he actually ranks out decently well in the 9-5 model this week, top 15. I think that's the first time that Tommy Fleetwood ranked out this well on the model for quite a while. Okay, Tommy Fleetwood has kind of sucked over the last calendar year. We just kind of look at those key stats that we always like to look at. 44th for stat rank. You look at the secondary stats, none of them are really popping for him as well. So that's going to be the worry with Tommy Fleetwood, and that's kind of why I'm fading him. We look at what he did last week at the CJ Cup, a 38th place finish. Not good, especially in the no-cut event. That is just not that good. So I'm gonna be. David just asked a question about outright for Garrick Higgo. He's wondering, hey, is he a good outright bet? I know he's been playing that crap, but his ceiling is very high. So I typically, I'll pull him up here as well. Well, we had that question. So yeah, Tommy Fleetwood going to be a fade for me. He's okay in recent form, especially compared to the field, top 12 in recent form rank. Course history rank, comp course history wise, actually not that bad. But for the most part, I'm just going to be staying away from him at that price point. So we'll pull up Higgo here since we got a question on him. He's one of those not Harry Higgs. He's one of those players where I still need to get his like player profile set up. So a lot of the stuff is still going to be from last year's data because, well, the PGA Tour doesn't have that completely updated yet. So I'll go here. Search Higgo. All right. So yeah, we can see this key stats for Higgo. Not that great. Par 5 scoring ranks out decently well in that. So the reason why Dave is probably wondering about him as outright bet is because he does have that high ceiling. But personally, for me, I'm never really one of those guys to chase kind of the Max Homa bet, I guess, if you will, for example purposes. Now, sometimes I'll hit like Max Homa winning earlier this year. But those guys that have not been in good recent form that do have that high ceiling, typically I want to see at least one good week from them before I think about outright betting them, and we just haven't had that with Higgo. So like a good example of that would be, I guess, Matthew Wolff before he got a second place finish. We at least saw one good week prior to him. I thought Matthew Wolff was a horrible outright bet the week prior to that. And he, for argument purposes, I would say that he is. Now, if you're someone that I guess bet Matthew Wolff or Max Homa, or even like I saw, who was it last week? Patrick Reed, I think it was. Like, because the odds were so good on that him. I think it was Patrick Reed as well. There's just players that people like gravitate towards because they know that they are like kind of world-class players and eventually it's going to bounce back. I typically want to see it 1 week at least before I think about betting them because it's very rare that someone like pops up out of the blue. I'd say like 1 out of 7 weeks is when that occurs. And you guys know, like, we've kind of been hitting at a 50% rate for, like, pretty much having someone in contention on the back nine, like, whether it's second place, first place. And I think that's kind of why. But yeah, here you go. Not for me this week. Thoughts on Tom Hoagie? Tom Hoagie, I'm actually fine with. Just in simple, if you end up on him like as the last point in your build, which is I'm assuming why you're asking, I'm fine with it. I won't got on my way to play him as well. But yeah, he's one of those players where if you're ending up on him there, Theo, I'm perfectly fine with it. I'm going to be getting into a couple other fades here as well. Now, I hope I'm wrong about this next fade here. I really do. Ricky Fowler. So Ricky had his best week ever last week, really in the past 2 years. Okay, so we can kind of look at it. So 23 starts last year over the past year. Only 2 of them have been top 10 finishes. So one of those was last week. Okay, that's definitely a worry there. He ranks 30th or 29th in the 9 to 5 model, but he's priced at 9.8. That is an insanely high price point for Ricky, for a guy that's, you know, really just had a good week strokes into the green and just gained a lot of strokes off the tee, which I worry about that this week with him. Just he hasn't really done that for quite a while. That hasn't really been the strength of his game for quite a while. I will say that no-cut events have been his best events, I guess, over the past calendar year, but still it's not like a play that I want to be going out of my way to make there with Ricky. So yeah, he's going to be my next fade, and that's kind of the theme, is that these guys are just a little bit too priced up for me at their current price points. So far, 2 fades, Ricky Fowler and Tommy Fleetwood. Those are going to be my fades. Now we're going to get into the cheat sheet real quick again, just so I can pull up 2 other players that I am thinking about fading as well. Because I will say, like, EVR at his price point, it makes a lot of sense. He's played decently well on no-cut events. Keegan Bradley, you know, he's a guy where his highs are highs and his lows are lows. I think he's in a low right now. I will say, like, Mackenzie Hughes not really playing. KH Lee not really playing. Let's see here. Matt Walsh, I could see a reason why you'd think about playing him. There's just a lot of other names here, okay? And that's kind of where I go back to the point of, you know, I'm really sticking to the core plays, which you guys already know. The core plays were Xander, Collin Morikawa. Sticking to those guys. Yeah, I'll pull up Ricky again real quick. So, yeah, Ricky missed the cut in the number at the Shriners. Was 62nd in his strokes gained total. So, you know, the rest of the field that made the cut ended up playing a little bit worse than him throughout the weekend. I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong here. This is one of those where, like, sure, if you were doing a betting card, he makes a much better outright bet than he does a DFS play at his current price point. So if you do both and you want to get some exposure to Ricky, please outright bet him. Don't put him on your DFS builds because, well, we get Hideki, who's a little bit better at that same price point, and I'd much rather go that route. But now let's get into a few outright bets. And honestly, guys, I really oversimplified the process this week. Not that many players in the player pool, not that many players on the betting card as well. I didn't even put out like a write-up for the outright betting card because it's pretty much exactly the same as the core plays video, or as the core plays write-up and core plays video. So it's like, why double dip the chip? I didn't really want to do that. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at Troy Merritt. Some people are probably going to hate that. Some people are going to be like, yeah, I kind of get it. I like his odds. I like his odds for the most part. Top 25 in the 9 to 5 model. And the thing with him is that we can see the upside with him occasionally. Okay, we see over his last 4 starts. That's all right. Leaves some to be desired there, I guess. But top 16 place finish, if we went a little bit further, like 3 months, we would see that he almost won that one tournament. And then going a little bit lower, yeah, we can see it. Out of his 30 starts, he's had 4 top 10 finishes. 7 of them were top 25 finishes. Not the best, but let's just look at it a little bit further. Bank Green's best putting surface. Plays a little bit better on Parkland-style courses. And I kind of just think that he's due. Just kind of as odds, he was someone that somewhat stuck out to me. And then I'll get into Scott Vincent there, David. And then I do want to talk about Chris Kirk as well. These were two players that just kind of caught my eye at their odds to win. So Chris Kirk, kind of the same thing. 4 top 10 finishes, 10 top 25 finishes. So not almost half, but almost half of his starts were top 25 finishes, which is pretty good. This is like a better Troy Merritt play, pretty much. We can see his average strokes gained total rank, 42nd. In no-cut events, it's 31st. Same thing for Parkland style courses. Same thing for course length. So that was something that kind of interests me as well. We know that this is going to be a shorter course. Kind of interesting to me there that he does play a little bit better on, shorter tracks. And then, yeah, bank greens, much better there. Green sizes, that is a rough number because we don't have that much course data, but he does play better on those courses as well. Honestly, it really wouldn't shock me to see Chris Kirk go on really play well. We've seen him play well really the last 5 weeks. 14th place finish at the CJ Cup like that. I just like to see them for him. So where I really just want to outright bet Collin Morikawa and Xander Schauffele, it doesn't really make sense at their current odds. I definitely think that one of those two are going to win. I could see Hideki winning as well, but if I had to go a little bit lower, Chris Kirk and Troy Merritt would be the one that I would want to go with. And it's a week in which, honestly, in DFS, where you are really just focused on upside, I don't think this is wrong. This is like one of those things where we can see it. So if you're chasing upside with Chris Kirk or Troy Merritt, it's perfectly fine because, well, you knew that that's what you were trying to do. We're not trying to get made cut. We're trying to get a solid 4 rounds out of them. All right, so Scott Vincent. I don't know if I have that much data on him. And this is going back to where I am working on getting like Korn Ferry Tour data and European Tour data into the data sets as well. Just want to be nice to have that data. But also be nice to use it for those contests as well. So we can see really the data that we have is going to be from his start at the Olympics, which is H3, and the fact that he's made his last 3 cuts on tour. 6.4, that's really good. Actually ranked out, pretty well in the model because of the small sample size that we have data-wise. And in a week where it's worth taking a risk, I kind of get it. So, yeah, if you're rolling with Scott Vincent, I really don't blame you there, David. Let's see here. Scott Vincent. Let's pull him up. Yeah, don't have much data on him, so just wanted to see that there. Yeah, I don't mind him. Thoughts on Sebastian Munoz? I'm just not playing him yet. He's been horrible. So, yeah, I'm not going with Sebastian Munoz at all. You can do with that what you will. I do want to go back to Sung Kang because I really don't feel like people are going crazy with Sung Kang this week, and I think he's going to be a solid play. Sorry, I had some gum. But Sung Kang, at his price point, I just cannot not play him. 5 straight make cuts in a row, and we see that. A lot of them have been pretty good finishes. His worst one being the Sanderson Farms 65th place finish, which, top 50% finish there pretty much in a full tournament field event, which is all we're asking for him at this price point. So you can't tell me that Sung Kang at this price point, that he's not going to give it to us. That I feel pretty good about that. And we just look at his average strokes gained total on no-cut events, ranks out really well there. Putts a little bit better on bank greens, a little bit worse in Parkland style courses, a little bit worse in these shorter tracks as well. But for the most part, he's a player that I do like a decent amount. But we can see there, the worry is going to be the upside. His average finish, too, over his last 30 starts is 75th. That's not good at all. No top 10 finishes, one top 25 finish as well. So it's not like we're going to get a huge amount of upside. So I can see why people don't want to use him because they know the upside is not really there. But the fact of the matter is that he should outproduce his price point, and that's something I like. Tom Hoge adding in with the core plays. All right, I'll pull up Tom Hoge here. Go cheat sheet. Is it just the price point thing? I'm wondering. So no real good starts, concourse history-wise. Top 10 in strokes gained approach. 50th or so in effective scoring, which is, that 9 to 5 stat, which measures just pretty much all the, core scoring stats. Strokes gained total, strokes gained tee to green, scoring before the cut, strokes gained differential, just a bunch of other like key scoring stats. He rates out pretty well there, so I kind of get it there. We see he's not really a birdie maker, not the best in total driving or ball striking. 7K is kind of a lot to pay up for him. 32nd place finish at the CJ Cup. Once again, I kind of think we can get that from a cheaper Sung Kang or Troy Merritt. Let me pull him up on the player profile as well. Decent recent form. I get that. That's not bad. Let's see. Comp course history wise, okay. You can see that there. Comp course history wise, okay. Ranks out 50th in the model. Let's see. Strokes gained approach. Yeah, it has been pretty good there. The one thing, or has been ball striking well. The one thing I don't like to do is focus on like one specific key stat for a tournament. So that being said, he has been decent around the greens as well. Decent strokes gained tee to green. It's not bad. Let's see here. Nothing secondary stat wise really pointing to him being an elite play. This is kind of just a shoulder shrug play to me. I get it if you end up on him. I'm perfectly fine with that. I'm not going to talk you guys out of it. It is the ultimate shoulder shrug play at 7K. I think it's properly priced. If you end up on him at the last player in your build, I get it. David, you should be able to use PayPal. I know originally you could be able to use PayPal, but credit card is just a lot easier for like processing payments and whatnot, and it's more reliable with the payment process. Pretty much is the easiest way to sum it up. With PayPal, there's a bunch of other stuff people can do and whatnot, so I'm not sure if that's still active. I have to check that. But yeah, credit card and debit card are pretty much the norm there. Let's see here. Got about 10 more minutes, so make sure to get your questions in. If not, I'm going to be getting out of here shortly. It's kind of a simple week, honestly. I've said this a couple of times where, in these no-cut events, we know what the process is. It's really focused on nailing the top end, then come back with the players on the, value tier price point range that are going to exceed their price point value. And that's kind of why I like Sung Kang. That's kind of why I like Troy Merritt. I like Troy Merritt a little bit more because of his upside. I wouldn't trust him in cash if this was a regular event or anything like that, but I do like his upside. And then, yeah, it's just something that we've learned over time that the best approach to no-cut events is studs and duds. You see it time and time again. Pretty much, it's one of the weirdest things. Other than 2 weeks ago, taking down the GPP, pretty much my best weeks have been no-cut events, which I think it's just because we nailed down the strategy. Now, it sucks because really you could have a really strong Thursday through Saturday pretty much and then end up not cashing at all, which if it was a full tournament field event, you are going to cash if that's the case. Last week for me, I know it was pretty much throughout the whole week, it was pretty good. No one had some rises or falls. It was all pretty even keel, so I like that. So yeah, thoughts on Harry Higgs? Okay, I'll get into that. All right, so going back to that, David, as well, I am working on getting Korn Ferry Tour data and European Tour data on the website live. Most likely that will come when the PGA Tour has their 3-week break, I think it is, around Christmas time. So that's when I'll be doing those updates and getting those finalized. Hopefully, fingers crossed. Yeah, those will be coming shortly. The thing is, I wanted to nail down the PGA Tour data and the look of it, the aesthetics of it, before I started doing all that other stuff and making those updates to the website. In which I think we got it. I think we got her down. All right, so Harry Higgs. So yeah, that's right. Harry Higgs was catching my eye a decent amount this week as well. And then I guess before the salaries come out, he was catching my eye. And then the salaries come out, I'm like, oh, that kind of sucks. We can't really play him too much now. But he is a better putter on bank greens. That's nice. We can see not the best at fit, 35th, 42nd ranked in the model. So, not someone you're actively going out of your way to play. If you wanted to chase the recent form, you could. We can see he hasn't been playing horrible, though. In all the events, really except for the Fortinet Championship, 75th in strokes gained total. It's not horrible for a miscut, but the 3M Open, he ended up finishing 57th in strokes gained total. So that tells us that horrible in strokes gained off the tee there as well. It's worst strokes gained off the tee in a while. But that's telling us that he played better than a lot of the people did throughout the weekend. So, yeah, he was a player that I was hoping would be at like 7K because I would have ended up on him a decent amount. Now at 7.5, he's kind of just priced out of my price point range for the player pool. Really just going back to my lineup process once again. If you end up on Harry Higgs, this is another player that I'm perfectly fine with you ending up on him. I think he's a fine play. We can see he's a little bit better in no-cut events, a little bit better bank greens. But with my lineup process, I couldn't end up on him. It was more or less 2 value plays, and then I have like an 8K play left over and, maybe 2 or 3 in the high tier. So, yeah, if you end up on him, I'm fine with it. Not someone I'm exactly going on my way to play. Want to pull him up on the cheat sheet directly. We can see, yeah, comp course history-wise, that's not that much. I can't say his name, but the player from the Japan tour at 7.2, I like him a decent amount. That's a little bit better. I already kind of mentioned Troy Merritt at that same price point range. And then Sun Kang I like as well. It's kind of just really narrowing down the player pool for me, just giving the price point ranges. The highest owned value. So that's the thing this week is that we don't exactly have ownerships for this week. I don't really know why, but I can give you an educated guess. Let's see here. So yeah, this is the Japanese tour player that I like. I'm fine with rolling with him. I'd much rather go him. I actually don't mind Brendan Todd at his price point, honestly. Shorter track, that should be a little bit better for him. Matt Walsh, I like. Chris Kirk, I like, but we're getting up there a little bit in price point. It just kind of goes back to a lineup process where kind of just sticking with what I got going. Yeah, it kind of goes back to, yeah, David says no shot track data this week. That's the kind of thing is that this week where it's overseas for some reason, there's just a lot less data available, which kind of sucks for DFS purposes. Let's see here. I actually think that Sean Norris might actually end up being like the most owned value on the slate. I think that's for what it's worth. He's been playing well on the Japan tour, but I don't really think anyone's going to be too chalky. I kind of thought Jimmy Walker would end up being chalk, but he's out, so don't have to worry about that. And I know, like, I feel like I sometimes affect ownership when it's needed, I guess. And I feel like this week it's kind of needed. So I wouldn't be surprised if Troy Merritt ended up becoming a chalky value, but I don't really think anyone's going to be too chalky. I kind of feel like people are going to go the fair and balanced approach this week, which they shouldn't, but I think that people are going to end up doing that. So I don't think we're going to get too much chalk at that value price point here. So I'm not too worried about it. Yeah. So yeah, for the core plays video, it's really easy to make a good good lineup work. I'll kind of show you guys here real quick. So Charlie was saying there's only like 14.6 left over after the core plays. So we'll just kind of show you guys on the lineup tool here. So kind of a fun tool, easy tool. You just have to control and then click on the players. So we got Xander, we got Colin Morikawa. This is just a nice tool that I kind of like to use as just, I don't know, when you guys go through your DraftKings lineups, when you're making them, it'd just be nice to kind of see the projected cut percentage, the projected fantasy points. And I'm gonna, you know what? I'm gonna add on projected ownership percentage on here as well. I like that as well, just to kind of see. But it's just kind of a fun thing to look at. So Let's see here. For Merritt, find Sung Kang. So yeah, not that much left to over. Let's see here. And then Sloan. Yeah, you can make that work. So here's an example lineup for you guys. Just kind of want to put together, but this is kind of how I guess easy it is to put together a decent lineup this week. I guess you know what? I'm going to throw in Tom Hoagie instead of Sloan because well, we talked about Tom Hoagie a decent amount. And then let's see here. I'll just do Higgs too. I think we can get up to Higgs just because we talked about those two a decent amount. All right, there we go. So that's a good way for you guys to fit in those core plays and then fit in, I guess, the two most talked about players on the slime stream, Tom Hoagie and Harry Higgs. So decent there. I don't mind Pat Perez. That's the problem this week is that there's so many players in this price point range that were decent. So like Pat Perez, we can see here, not ranking out horribly. Top 26 in the 9 to 5 mile this week. That's pretty good. You know, decent recent form, staff fit and whatnot. Like I'm fine with him as a play. I'm fine with Harry Higgs. I'm fine with Tom Hoagie as a play. It's just like at this price point range, you're just not ending up on it too much. And it's just like I don't know if you're doing like max entering it. Yeah, sure, you can play these guys. But if you're just doing 10 lineups, one lineup, you know, it's tough for me to end up on these guys. You know, they're kind of just lineup fillers. They're kind of shoulder short plays. But we are coming up on 30 minutes here. Actually just hit the 30-minute mark. So if you guys have any more questions, get them in. I'm going to go to the end screen, so I'll be getting out of here very shortly. But this was a good live stream, guys. Fun stuff here. Going to be doing this weekly at 4 p.m. Unless, I know it kind of sucks this week with the tournament starting pretty much in 2.5 hours, but I love that. That's kind of fun. I enjoy that. Just a quick question. I know a lot of you guys are probably going to leave the chat. NBA DFS content. I'm very curious about it because I have data like ready to go, ready to put up on the website. I can do that. It's pretty easy for me now. The issue I have is that it demands a lot of time, especially right before lineup lock. I can easily do content in the morning, but my struggle is that I wouldn't be putting my best foot forward. I guess if that makes sense. It's like the content I always like to put out there is like, I want it to be the best content I can do possibly. You know, I want it to be the most up to date, the most accurate and whatnot. Like in the mornings for NBA DFS, it's like, I feel like it's kind of a basic knowledge that it's not going to be like always the best, but I'm just kind of curious about that. So, you know, if you could leave that in the comment section or even like the next live stream next week, want to comment on that, that's perfectly fine. I'm just kind of curious about it because I do love doing NBA DFS. It's just like I was going to do a video this morning for this slate, and I'm like, you know, I got it down pretty well, but like I know like 6 of these guys I would have mentioned, probably 3 of them are not going to make my final build, and that's kind of the problem with NBA DFS. So that's why I love golf. It's like once you nail down the plays, they're the plays. That's kind of why I like football as well. It's like other than like an injury breaking before the slate, it's like once we have down the plays, those are the plays. We don't have to worry about starting lineup or rotation or the opposing team starting lineup. You know, it's pretty much those are the teams in NFL, or those are the plays in NFL and golf. You don't have to worry about any of that. In golf, it's really just, all right, run the data, maybe go with your gut a little bit here and there, with like Rory, I guess, last week. There's another gut play I had. Terrell Hatton. Terrell Hatton was my gut play. I'm like, this guy is not a good play, whatever, but my gut's telling me he's going to be a decent play, and he ended up being decent. But that's kind of what I like about golf. It's like once we have the data, it's just we know what to do, and that's kind of the issue with NBA sometimes. But sleep on that, guys. Curious to see your thoughts, but that's all I have for you guys this week. Hopefully we have another good week. It'd be nice to have like 3 awesome weeks in a row. They're always pretty good, but it'd be pretty darn sweet to have like 3 epic weeks in a row.